Hello everybody. Today we will be reviewing, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. So I do have my notes here, so I will do my regular analysis of the movie before we get into my thoughts. So this movie starts out with the opening credits. There's a woman dreaming of Michael she's begging him not to hurt her. She's being taken down this hallway in this sort of like asylum looking place, I guess you could call it. Sorry, the camera angle's kind of funky for some reason. Let me just fix that. Oh, there, that's better. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, she's being taken down the hallway. She's giving birth. There's some sort of there are these weird men around her. It's almost like a cult sort of setting, I guess you could say. Then the man in the trench coat from the last movie, if you remember that, takes the newborn baby with him. Then we hear the story being told about a group of people who may be protecting Michael. We find out that the woman is Jamie, so Jamie's all grown up now. So Jamie was the one that was giving birth. A nurse tries to help Jamie escape from this asylum-looking place. Jamie does escape. But she ends up being killed by Michael. I thought I had more notes on that. Oh no, sorry, that's the nurse. The nurse that helps Jamie escape is killed by Michael. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The Strode house has a sold sign on it. Danny is one of the main characters in this movie. He's a kid. He's inside the Strode house. The man tells Danny to kill for him, meaning kill for Michael, I'm assuming. That's just how the scene is kind of set. You'd have to watch the movie to really get that feeling. Then there's this radio show. This man calls in, talks about his encounter with Michael when he was 8. Jamie makes it to the Fast Trip bus terminal, where she's still being pursued by Michael. Dr. Loomis is asked to come back to Smith Grove. He then hears Michael's name on the radio. Jamie pleads for Dr. Loomis to help. The power goes out at the bus terminal. Jamie hides from Michael. Jamie is able to make it out of the window with the baby. Michael pursues her in a van, runs Jamie off the road. Jamie tells Michael that he can't have the baby. Michael then kills Jamie. Then it goes to a man chopping down a sign of Michael that says he is coming. Oh, sorry, just before I get into this. When Michael goes to the vehicle that Jamie was in to get the baby's not there. It's just a wrapped up roll of paper towel. So we know we're back in Haddonfield by this point now, after the man chops down the sign that says he is coming on it. Danny nearly stabs his grandfather after the family's having an argument. Dr. Loomis learns of Jamie's death. Tommy, who, it took me a second to realize who Tommy even was. So we see Tommy listening to Jamie's radio call on repeat. He ends up hearing Dr. Loomis's name. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah?
Do you want to go in on sushi?
Sure.
He said sure.
Do you want to come and tell me more?
You have to tell them what you want.
In a minute, I'm doing a video.
So in a minute.
Yeah. I got a text to tell me.
Okay.
Okay.
Like actually a minute or?
Okay, sorry about that little interruption there. So where was I? Let's just start from, because I can't remember exactly. So the power goes out. Jamie hides from Michael. She makes it out of the window. Oh, right, that's where I was. was Jamie telling Michael he can't have the baby. Man chops down the sign. We find out that we're at Haddonfield. Danny nearly stabs his grandfather. Dr. Loomis learns of Jamie's death. Tommy is listening to Jamie's radio call. Here's Dr. Loomis Lane. Follows the trail of blood at the bus terminal when Tommy goes there. Tommy ends up finding the baby. Dr. Loomis goes to the site of Jamie's death. There's a marking burned into the hay. Danny's mom finds strange drawing of his. It's basically like this drawing of him with a knife at his grandfather and the rest of the family standing there, sort of thing. Tommy is able to find Dr. Loomis, and this is when I found out that Tommy is Tommy Doyle from the first movie, which was one of the kids that Laurie Strode was babysitting. So Dr. Loomis and Tommy are basically reunited because of this. So Tommy tells Dr. Loomis to meet him at the campus rally that night. Michael is watching the Strode house from across the street. Dr. Loomis is able to find Mrs. Strode, says he is going to help her. He then warns her of Michael returning to the Strode house based on what happened there, his connection to the house. Danny sees the man in the trench coat again, almost runs into Tommy. Deborah and John are the names of the grandparents. So they're having this discussion about realizing that of what happened in the house with Michael and Laurie and all that. So then Danny sees, so the phone rings for Deborah after she realizes that the axe is missing from the container that she brought in from earlier. So there's this man on the other end of the phone, says that he wants the child. She runs outside. Michael then kills Deborah because we already know that he's in the house by this point. Tommy. So then Danny's mother comes home. She's calling through the house. She ends up finding Tommy and Danny in Danny's bedroom. Tommy then tells Danny his mother to come stay with him. Danny sees Michael across the street. Danny tells Danny's mother, Tommy tells Danny's mother about the thorn symbol. That's the one that we see throughout the movie. It's on Michael's arm, and it was the same symbol that was burned into the hay when Dr. Loomis went to where Jamie had died. And so he talks about the Druids and their rituals, and that there's this constellation. Tommy believes that when this constellation of stars appears on Halloween only, that's when Michael appears. Dr. Loomis is then told about Jamie giving birth. He believes he knows where the baby is. Mrs. Blankenship, who is Tommy's next door neighbor, tells Danny about the story about the boogeyman. She then goes on to tell Danny's mother that Danny can hear the same voices Michael heard the night Michael murdered his family. John then comes home drunk. He's inside the house yammering on about the boogeyman. The power goes out. He goes down to the basement, finds the basement flooded, turns off the power to the washing machine, opens it, finds blood-soaked clothes in the washing machine, turns around, and then Michael kills him. Then Tim, who is one of the sons of, or the son of Deborah and John, ends up finding out that he lives in the Myers house. So I guess the Myers house and the Strode house was the same place, which I don't know if I knew or not, I guess, until this movie, or I never really made the connection before. I'm sure I've known from watching these movies before, but anyhow, that was kind of like a plot twist again for me, I guess, because I haven't seen these movies in a couple years now, even though I'd like to watch them every year around Halloween time. So Beth, his girlfriend, begins to tell the story of the night Michael Myers murdered his family. While they're waiting for Barry, who was a radio host interviewing them, to show up at the house because he wanted to carry on the interview there, but Michael's already killed Barry. So then Tommy finds this kid saying that it's raining red. The kid is covered in blood. Tommy looks up into the tree. Barry's body falls from the tree. So Dr. Loomis at that point runs into Tommy, and Tommy tells him that it's basically all beginning. Beth jokes as Tim goes to have a shower after they have sex to watch out for the boogeyman. Tim calls for Beth in the bathroom to hand him a towel. Instead, it's Michael handing him the towel because we see the marking on his arm. Tim goes to get out of the shower, kind of wipes the mirror off. All of a sudden, Michael appears and he kills him. Then Kara calls her own house from across the street from Tommy's place. So now we know her name is Kara, unless I just didn't pick up on it earlier in the movie. But that Tim calls out for her in the house in the previous scene, so I finally realized that Danny's mother's name is Kara. So Kara calls her own house. Beth picks up. Kara then tells Beth to grab Tim and get out of the house. But by that point, it's too late. Michael's already in the house because he's killed Tim. So Kara watches as Michael kills Beth. Kara turns around. Danny's gone. He's already walking over to the house. Kara tries to catch up with him, follows him. She finds Beth and Tim dead in the upstairs bedroom. She finds Deborah dead because the attic door falls down when she's walking down the hallway. Tommy and Dr. Loomis then arrive outside. The baby is missing. Turns out Dr. Wynn, who was the person who wanted Dr. Loomis to come back to Smith Groves, was actually part of this all along, and apparently so was Mrs. Blankenship. She was part of it as well. So then all these men, I'm assuming they're supposed to be the Druids, surround all of them. They end up waking up at Smith Grove. But before that, Kara dives out the window to try to get away from them all, but she just ends up hurting herself. That's when everybody wakes up at Smith Grove. So inside Smith Grove, Dr. Loomis goes to confront Dr. Wynn, right? Yes. Dr. Loomis goes to confront Dr. Wynn. Tommy's following the screaming. He ends up finding Kara. As he's trying to break Kara out of her cell, all of a sudden Michael approaches. They're running down the hallway. They're able to close the door to keep Michael away from them. Michael's able to grab Kara, though. Tommy finds this, I don't know whether it was like a grenade launcher or some sort of thing. Anyway, he just presses it up against Michael and shoots him backwards. Tommy and Kara are able to find the baby and Danny. This was probably one of the more intense scenes because they're basically hiding from Michael. He passes through the room that they're in as they're literally just like crouched over. They drop something. He hears the noise. He kind of saunters back a couple steps, looks in the room, sees nothing, walks past the door. They're both like standing right on the other side of the door. Then Michael goes down the hallway, finds his knife. It's not like a butcher knife. I don't really know. It must be some sort of like medical knife, I guess, sort of thing. It's like almost like a machete type knife. in this movie. Anyway, Tommy kind of peeks around the corner, and all of a sudden, the lights start flickering in the next room, and Tommy and Kara watch as Michael just literally murders everybody in that room. It's probably one of the bloodiest scenes in all the Halloween movies, as far as I remember, unless they just keep getting worse. I know the Rob Zombie ones are pretty bad, and when I get to the reviews of those, there's a lot of scenes, a lot of gory scenes in those ones as well. But this one, as far as for the original ones go, in the original series, this was probably one of the bloodiest scenes out of all of them. So I guess that would be kind of a iconic scene. I guess this movie kind of brings all the stories together in a way, because it's all of them, Tommy, Jamie, all of the characters, Dr. Loomis. So Tommy and Kara then grab Danny and the baby, and they flee. Michael chases them. They end up basically trapping themselves at a dead end in this room. So Tommy basically lures Michael in, telling him that he's won while he's pretending to hold the baby. Michael hears the baby crying in another part of the room. Tommy injects him with some sort of fluid, I'm not really sure what. Kind of looks like a lab where basically Michael might have been created instead of being born normally, or at least injected with that to make him superhuman like he is now, because that's kind of implied in these movies, because he just can't die. He's basically just pure evil, not a human anymore. So Michael wards off the attack of Tommy and Kara, because Kara starts beating Michael with a giant pipe. He starts choking Kara, almost kills her. Danny yells at Michael to leave her alone. He then starts coming after Danny. Tommy then grabs the pipe and starts beating Michael to death. Dr. Loomis is able to save Kara and Danny. Then it shows Tommy, Danny, and Kara leaving at the end with Dr. Loomis standing outside the car. Tommy asks Dr. Loomis to come with them. He says no, he has unfinished business. Then it goes back into Smith Grove, and all that is left on the ground is Michael's mask, and then the credits roll. So, I would say that this movie was certainly better than the fourth and fifth one. I would give this a 10 out of 10, actually, as far as in this series of movies goes. I think, yeah, I've rated all the other ones by now, because I did a little rating in another video of earlier. I think it was the fourth movie that I did the ratings of the other ones in. But this one I would give a 10 out of 10. Just because of what it does, basically. It ties all the stories together, wraps it up in a nice little bow, basically. So now we have all the characters tied together going into the next movie. Even though I don't think these characters make a return. I don't think Tommy ever makes a return later on in the story. But at least this kind of foreshadows, I guess, going back into possibly Laurie's story. Obviously we can't go back into Jamie's story or anything past that, because all the other characters are dead now. So I guess in this movie, the Strode family was the ones living in the Strode house were the ones that adopted Laurie as well. I think that is mentioned in this movie at some point. I just didn't jot it down. But that is one of the points that I just wanted to make, because I believe it is mentioned in this movie. Other than that, 10 out of 10 would be my rating. This Michael was much better designed, I would say. And the mask was actually tucked in this time, as opposed to just kind of like dangling there. I don't know, I didn't like that for the fourth and fifth movie. And the mask wasn't as pale in these ones. I think this mask design was much better. It definitely added to the creepiness of the character. The as opposed to in the fourth and fifth movie, the character just looked kind of goofy as opposed to scary. So even in the scenes where there's like a bunch of light shining on him and he's chasing Kara and Tommy, it just makes him look much creepier with this getup. And I think that's about all I really have to say. I think I covered the gore scene already in the Smith Grove, where he kills Dr. Wynn and all the people in that room. Just absolutely massacres them, throws them through windows, stabs them all. He ends up chasing one of the guys out of the room while he's pursuing Tommy and Kara, and just kind of like rams his face into the gate to shove the gate open. It's brutal. It's brutal. So anyway, I think that about covers everything I wanted to talk about in this movie, and I will, this one's probably a little bit longer of a video because it seems like so much happens in this movie just to tie all the stories together and to go back into Laurie's story, or at least that's what I'm thinking. So I guess if you haven't watched these movies, we'll see you in the next review for the next movie, and like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.